Hey, look, see, I'm in a different spot. It's been about 2 hours since that last video I posted, and I've had to move to another spot. This is what I do almost all the time. I've just ate some brunch, breakfast, lunch, whatever you want to call it. It was boiled eggs, potato patties, stuff, whatever. Doesn't matter. And now I'm sitting in this chair, and I just took some medication, and I probably will be doing a few other things after the pills take effect. So while my food digests and while my pills run through my system take effect, I will post this. You see, I don't. I saw something the other day about. It was on last night, last week tonight with John Oliver. It was about American exceptionalism, and I think that can apply to people who have physical and mental disabilities. And I think the problem with a lot of people is a lot of able-bodied people, and maybe even some people with physical disabilities, is they believe that, kind of like the Nike ad, just do it. And what's so funny about this whole thing is that it's actually derived from the last words spoke by convicted killer Gary Gilmore before he was killed by firing squad. He said, "Let's do it," but they changed it to "just do it." And then you got people wanting to say things like, uh, quoting Yoda saying, "Do or do not. There is no try," which is also foolish because even if you do something and you fail, you still did it. Saying you're going to try to do something is when people sit on their butts and say, "Well, I'll get to that tomorrow," or "I'll get to that next week," or "I'll get to that in an hour." You're trying to get out of something, doing something. It reminds me of something I heard someone say one time at a graduation commencement ceremony, is that if you can't have great successes, have great failures. And I think that's always been the problem with Americans, is that they don't understand what it means. They think it means that you should always build on a failure. Well, the problem is you can't. You do something and it's not successful in the long run. It happens. Restaurants are one of the most biggest and most historically on record failures to go into if you're a business entrepreneur, investor, etc., whatever. If you want to invest in a restaurant, you're basically throwing the money away. It might last a year, it might last 10 years, but it's not going to be around forever, or at least in the long run. And it happens. Businesses fail, but we act like they fail for the greater good. And we got phrases like "too big to fail." Well, of course they do. What does that mean? Banks should fail, but in American sense, they shouldn't. And that's where it comes back to this idea of you should be able to do something even though you're not able to do it. And there is a term I've heard others used, and I like it because it really exposes how some people think. It's called a super crip. Pardon me. It's I know some people don't like the word cripple, but it comes on this idea that no matter what, you should find something that you're good at and do it and make an exception out of it for everyone else. Pardon me. If you want to look at, I think one of the most interesting characters of this was Terry Fox, who was a Canadian who about 40, 45 years ago, he had cancer and he had to have one of his legs amputated. So he tried to run across Canada to raise awareness and money. for research and awareness. So, and of course, he didn't make it. But some people went after him saying, well, all this does is just show the whole idea of the superscript, that one man can do something so everyone else can do it. Well, no, you can't. And now we have things like the bucket list, this notion that cancer victims should somehow get up and go out and drive stock cars and climb Mount Everest and whatever they ever do. But the funniest thing is, I read an article about this from Roger Ebert before he died. He had cancer too, and he said, what's interesting is a lot of cancer victims or survivors, they really look forward to having minor things they can do during the day to accomplish. And he mentioned having a bowel movement, which I think is so to the point. It's something people take for granted, but no one wants to talk about. And I don't know if anybody know me. I was in a relationship with a woman for about 18, 19 years, and she was very disabled. And in that time, majority of the time we were together, from about 2004 to about this year, 2020, she had limited physical disabilities. And there was sometimes I had to help her go to the bathroom. I had to help her shower. I cooked for her. I made her, did everything. And I wasn't able to after a while, because in 2011 I had foolishly went out to check on a stray dog that had been hanging around our house. We'd had a blizzard snowstorm come through in February 2011, and this it was a beagle, and it was like sub-freezing temperatures, and I was trying to bring him in the house to get him warm, and I slipped and I fell on some concrete steps. I slipped and fell on my tailbone, and it stunned me for about 5 minutes or so, and I got up and I took some Tylenol, whatever, and I thought nothing bad. But after the next few months, I started having severe problems, so I had to go to a doctor, and we did x-rays, MRIs, and we found out the fall didn't immediately cause the pain I'm having, but it agitated previous problems I've had. I want to tell people that when I was 20 years earlier in 1991, I fell on my bike, and pretty much this whole right side of my head, it looked like something out of a horror movie, David Lynch body horror movie. I mean, it was like from here all the way to here was just corroded, nastiest. Imagine the most disgusting scrapes you could see on the side of my face. This eye was messed up. I still have problems in this eye, seeing as clearly. This left ear, I'm almost deaf in this ear right now. And lately, it's got throbbing, and it almost once a week. But yeah, I mean, this black eye, it went all shapes and colors, colors of the rainbow. I mean, seriously, it actually turned green one time. So, but that, and then there was a few times in my teens, and I slipped and I fell. I was working at Walmart the summer after I graduated high school, and I slipped and I fell on some wet floor, and I really didn't tell them, but it didn't matter because they let me go about a month later because of some other stuff. But it's Walmart, forget it. So, but I was able to get through my 20s, and with only minimum pain, but I often had to go to the chiropractor to have my back popped, my neck popped. But that didn't cause any of this stuff, so I don't want to hear anything about, oh, I don't like chiropractors. Well, that's your thing. So, but For about the past 9 years, I have been living with this pain, and it's only gotten worse as I gotten older because I'm almost 42. And it just hurts. And there are still people, I think, who have not realized that my days are not going to be extraordinary. Even though there wasn't no COVID-19 pandemic, I was getting out once or twice a week because it's just so excruciating to, say it, you know, get dressed, take a shower, uh, get in the car, go somewhere, get out of the car, go in some place, and I have to use motorized carts, which, I'm a big guy, and I know a lot of people think, well, this is another fat ass who's uh, using a motorized cart, but I can't walk around places. I have a cane that I use because my left leg is having problems. It pops. Let me see if I can get it to pop here. Let's see if you can hear it. Oh, well, hold on. But it pops when I move, and it hurts. And my left ankle hurts. But there's this idea that American exceptionalism is that you can do anything despite whatever is holding you back, which is complete and utter bullshit. Because we have a system in place that keeps people from accomplishing goals. Just look, this is the whole new school year. Just look at this whole new, the way public education is made out. There are kids out there who have the abilities to do certain things, but they're held down either by socioeconomic factors. Teachers, administrators maybe don't want them to succeed because somebody else's parents makes more money in the district. And let's not deny this doesn't happen, because it happened to me, it happened to other people over the years. I've seen I used to cover education as a newspaper reporter. I've seen this. I know how it goes. So don't tell me it doesn't happen. And that's kind of where we're in the boat are right now, because I think a lot of parents didn't really want to be told that their kids weren't uh, highly educated. So we forced a whole generation of students to abandon these rotet skills that they were good at in favor of more academic pursuits that they may not have been interested in. And I think the biggest problem we've had is that I don't think a lot of parents really want to hear that their kids are not book smart. And they might actually frown on the fact that they are tech savvy. But I don't see anything wrong with that. I've known people, you can hand them an electronic device, they can take it apart and reassemble it and make it even better than it was before you gave it to them in a small amount of time. But we're telling them, no, you need to go off to some liberal arts college, accrue $50,000 in debt to study the Romantics. And they didn't like the Romantics. They don't know what the Romantics are. They couldn't get a job. So, hey, American exceptionalism. You can do more. What you can't. And that's really the biggest problem I hate with this whole idea of the supercrip, is that somehow or another you can do more. And I know people, I know a guy, I don't know him, he is a friend of a friend, I've never met him, but he is a very very great guy, from what I've seen from videos and heard about, and he started a charity, Wheels of Happiness, which you should go uh, look at. And but just and he's in a wheelchair. He had an injury, but just because he's in a wheelchair, he had an injury, he started a charity. It does not mean that everyone else who gets into a situation like that will go off and do something that extraordinary. I think he felt he needed to do this, and a lot of times you have to do things to get your mind off things. I don't. I'll be brutally honest here. I don't fault Lance Armstrong taking steroids because he had battled testicular cancer, and if anyone has ever dealt with a cancer, your body isn't the same afterwards. I've known people who've had to take steroids for their own health just to get up, and I think, but that was it's the way they get through. But I think that the narrative is that he was able to bounce back with no uh, medication, no help, and win the Tour de France was something that Americans really wanted to hear. And it's the same thing with Jared Fogle. Oh my God. Yeah, this guy ate Subway and he walked. And he lost all that weight. Well, Jared Fogle is not really a nice guy to look up to. And some people might say, well, Lance Armstrong's not a nice guy to look up to. And I would have to agree with him on some factors because I think he did lie and present himself as a person who did it through hard work and determination. But that's the problem, is that we are afraid of admitting that we have weaknesses. And whenever someone does, we want to chastise them for it. Going back to the guy, he had a great video, and the guy who started the charity, and he says, I don't feel sorry for myself. But I think people misinterpret that as being, okay, well, he doesn't feel sorry for himself, so you shouldn't either. No, what he's saying is, I don't feel sorry for myself. I do not want you to feel sorry for myself. Yet there are other people out there you need to feel sorry for. You need to take attention to. There are people out there who need help, who do not have people close by who can help them. And what I mean by that is there are people who are close by, but they don't want to help. And that was the problem I got into with my ex, was that I was doing all the fucking work. Pardon my language, but I was. And it hurt so much. And she was the only one telling me, take a break. Sit down. And, we don't, I had boiled eggs today and toast. That was something simple I could make. I used to love to make big breakfasts and big meals. I couldn't do that anymore. So, and people just don't want to be bothered by it. They think that, and all this time, people were telling her, oh, well, you can do more. You can do more. No, she couldn't. She couldn't do more. And my mother, about 20 years ago, got really sick. And the only thing she could do on a daily basis was get up out of bed, walk about 20 feet into the front room, sit down in a chair, conserve her energy to when she had to go to the bathroom or somehow make it into the kitchen. My stepfather uh, was there, probably made her food or something to drink, but she couldn't hardly keep anything on her stomach. It was she was having some problems with her kidneys, but but you wouldn't tell someone like that, hey, you know what you can do? You can go walk around the block today. And it's that kind of thinking that gets a lot of people into danger. This whole "you can do it" idea that all you need is a little can-do willpower. Yes, a little Reagan. Welcome. It's more than American Reaganism bullshit. Well, it doesn't work. Yes, but a lot of people like me, like my mom, then like my ex, and like my friend's friend. We are all limited at one point or another on the stuff we can do. And you, able bodied people, are limited too. You don't want to admit it, but you are. And the minute you realize you're not going to be able to do certain things, is the minute you start realizing other people are not going to be able to do certain things. And that's what's going to make the world a better place. I mean, look at these. These are gloves. I have to wear these gloves. I have arthritis. And, the funniest thing about these is that, like I said, I'm almost 42. I'll be 42 in September next month. And people are actually like, well, I'm much older than you and I don't have arthritis. Well, what do you fucking do? This is not a pissing contest, for God's sakes. I don't care about the size of your dick. I'm sorry to be using this language, but this is kind of how I kind of get through things. But no, this is kind of a rant, but I think if we start looking at the idea that more and more people are limited by what they can and can't do, and that we shouldn't be expecting them to do more, but at the same time, we should not be chastising them for stuff they can't do. And I don't know, I kind of take somewhat of an offense when, uh, like I said, the media, which I worked in for several years, puts these stories together of people, and I've done them myself, who overcome the odds. But I always wanted to make it look like somebody overcame it with the help of others, with the help of, I'm not a religious man. Prayer, some people are very religious. They believe prayer helps them. Some other people dote on their doctors and the nursing staff and the physical therapists who help them out. But, things happen. People need help. I did a story, uh, my first newspaper I was at, I did a story about I think the guy was a Episcopalian pastor, and he had kidney problems. And this poor man, who has probably, maybe he has passed away by now, it's been about 19 years, he didn't die of that. All he could do was sit in a chair. And he had to keep the door unlocked when no one was there because people would be coming in and out. And you think about the mentality that any creep, burglar, lowlife could be coming in there, and they could be hurting this poor man who could barely walk. And he looked bad. He looked like almost near death. And it just so happened to find out that him and his wife had the same blood tissue type, and she donated one of her kidneys to him, and he bounced back better. And I said to him a few months later after the surgery, he got better. If you don't mind me saying this, you do look a whole lot better. But that's I didn't really do it in a story to put it forth like, here's something you can do. I wanted to make people somehow. I guess I wanted to make people feel better that they should not take for granted what they have. Because this poor guy, that's all he did during the day was sit in a chair, probably read the Bible, probably watch the news, visit with people who came by. But that was his day. And everyone griping now about during this pandemic because they can't get out, they can't do things that they normally would do. I think they've been very, very selfish. And I think they're still holding on to the idea of the super crip is that everybody who is physically or mentally disabled can achieve greatness. They just gotta have that can do, go for it, American willpower. Well, no. For a lot of people who can do certain things, a lot of them can't. Even the most able-bodied people can't run the Boston Marathon. Even the most able-bodied people can't hit 700 home runs in their lifetime. Even people who make good grades in high school or college can't go out and design something that will revolutionize the world. But we want to tell people they can. And I think that's part of our problem. And it's been part of our problem for decades, generations. And I know a lot of people don't like seeing this in entertainment. They don't like seeing people with disabilities on TV, in the movies. Sesame Street has an autistic character. The Farrelly Brothers, Dumb and Dumber, despite Green Book, which I'll never watch. I think they really put it out in people's faces saying, they're involved in the Special Olympics, so they're going to hire people who may have developmental or physical disabilities and put them in movies. Because you got to see it. And I think that's been the main problem with things I've had to deal with, things other people out there have had to deal with, is that people just don't want to see it. But it's time you start opening your eyes. Because there might come a day, heaven forbid, in which you may not be able to see or hear or walk. I mean, the interesting thing, I'll close with this. The doctor who, one of the physicians, doctors my ex would see on a regular basis, he said a lot of the people they treat with physical disabilities didn't get them from automobile accidents or from falling off a two-story roof. They got them from simple things, stepping wrong off a curb, leaning over to pick up something off the floor, a simple slip and fall that would probably get a barrel of laughs on America's Funniest Home Videos. But at any time it's possible. So, You want to be careful.